So do you have a further question?
I do.
Representative.
And my question gets to the heart of what the chair was just getting at, which is there is a huge distinction between looking at whether or not everything about the administration of an election went perfectly, or whether anything should have been done differently or should be done differently in the future, versus suggesting that that election was rigged, or that the outcome should be overturned or should have been overturned at some earlier point. And it seems that you are firmly in the lane of suggesting that the outcome of the election should have been overturned.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there, Mr. Spreitzer. I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth for your cheap political advancement. Stop it.
You hired Mr.
I never
Hoyer.
said anything about overturning any election. Stop making things up, Mark.
Then why have you hired Mr. Hoyer?
Your constituents deserve better.
Why have you hired Mr. Hoyer?
Shame on you.
Shame on you. Why have you hired Mr. Hoyer, who tried to overturn the will of the people of Wisconsin?
Representative, I am asking you, do you have a further question?
Yes, my question is, why do you feel it is appropriate to employ Mr. Hoyer, who specifically sued to overturn the will of the people of Wisconsin? Do you agree with him about that?
All right. I'm going to, once again, you make a lengthy speech and then you wind up with a totally unrelated question. I'll get to Ron Hoyer in a second. But
I'd like you to get to him now.
Yeah, I had to listen to you. You're going to listen to me. You said two words. You falsely said that I mentioned two phrases that I never mentioned. First of all, my argument is not that the election was not perfectly run, Mr. Spreitzer. I never said anything about perfect. I said, has it been, well, all right, let's really walk this out.
You suggested it's been rigged.
Has it been rigged? And what do we mean by rigged? What I mean is, did government officials use corporate money, which was transformed into public money, in an effort to help one candidate, to help get out the vote in favor of one candidate? I'm not arguing anything about perfect. And you, again, you use the euphemism that the and you misrepresent what the LAB report. It didn't say, oh, gee, there were some things we could have done differently or better. It may have said that, but the central thesis, which you are doing everything in your ability to avoid, is to say that WEC engaged in consistent and is still engaging to this day, Representative Spreitzer, in illegal conduct. Okay? Now let's get to the second phrase that you misrepresented what I said. I never said anything about overturning any election. That is not my interest. That is not my interest, Representative Spreitzer, and I don't know where you got that from, because the last time I was before this committee, I expressly said that the purpose of this investigation is not to overturn any election or to make a change in the presidency. I expressly said I am unaware of any legal mechanism by which that could be accomplished. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you don't think Representative Ramthan's resolution is a legal mechanism, but you are nevertheless employing people who tried to overturn the results of the election.
If we're going to interrupt each other when we don't like what the other person is saying, or when a stray thought occurs to each other, I can do that too. But now I'm going to get to where you wound up in the last 5 seconds of your lengthy speech disguised as a question, which is about Ron Hoyer. Ron, I believe, is the president. He's the president of the Wisconsin Voters Alliance. They have been behind a lot of litigation that has been very successful. I note that it wasn't you, Representative Spreitzer, or any government official who went ahead to get open records which citizens of this state are lawfully entitled to, which concern these government officials, their direct communications with CTCL, the representatives who had all of the Zuckerberg money to come to town with and dish out. That is my knowledge about what Ron Hoyer has been doing, looking into the communications and the open records and the emails concerning the transactions of CTCL coming to these 5 cities with all sorts of Zuckerberg money, with all sorts of strings attached. That's my knowledge about Mr. Hoyer, who is, by the way, a fine and honorable man.
And my point is simply this, that
Do you have a
You-
point or a question?
I do have a question.
Okay. And we are down to the
No,
last 10
no.
minutes, so.
My question, Mr. Gableman, is if you wanted this investigation to have the appearance of legitimacy, if you wanted people to withhold judgment and wait for your final report, and then to have confidence in that final report,
Mhm.
shouldn't you have avoided hiring people who sued to try to change the outcome of the past election? Shouldn't you have avoided hiring people with direct ties to the Trump organization? And frankly, shouldn't this investigation be headed up by somebody other than you? There has got to be some Republican in the state of Wisconsin, some Tommy Thompson type, that would be above reproach, that we would all, even the Democrats, say, you know what, we trust that that person is above board, that they may be a Republican, but they're out for the truth. And I don't trust that you're out for the truth, and I'm wondering why you
Mr.
haven't done more
Representative,
to...
you are just disparaging the person who's coming today, and I don't know
Mr.
that.
Gableman has disparaged himself by the people
I-
that he has put into this investigation.
Madam Chair, I now ask that his comments be stricken from the record. This is beyond the pale, and I will pack up my books and go if this is how it's going to be. I will not be subject to Mr. Spreitzer's lies and his frankly baseless accusations. That's not how this should go. You know better.
Thank you for coming in today. I have a question for you.